Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for day 3 of the summit. Welcome. We are so excited to have you here today. My name is Tandra Richardson, and I am a director in the Office of Educational Equity. We'll be kicking today off with our Career Insider Tips session led by Tamiko Span, Latasha Williams, and Misty Cohert. They'll help you discover the value of personal and employer branding. During the session, you'll be guided through strategies on building and discovering your own personal brand. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to our Kroger team to get us started.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning.
Morning. The screen is sharing. How is everyone doing? Let us know in the chat. I'm saying from Savannah, Georgia, Davenport. Awesome. Okay, there it is. Can everyone see our screen share so far? Thank you so much, Casey, for pulling that up. I think we're good. Okay, well, welcome to our session. Like was introduced, my name is Latasha Williams, and we're going to cover a ton of some awesome stuff. So super excited to be a part of this session here and spend some time with you all this morning. Our small and mighty group of, I think I see 66. So very, very awesome. Missy and I are going to hopefully provide some value to you today and share a little bit about the company and kind of maybe intertwine our paths in between that. But our agenda today, as you see there on the screen, is we're talking about the recipe for finding the right company culture and the recipe for aligning that your value to that culture as you look for opportunities that fit that. So we're going to talk a little bit about our framework for action and why it matters. And that's our commitment to diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. So you see our titles is all you at Kroger and talking about something specifically. So we'll highlight some key areas there. And then we'll talk a little bit about our talent attraction, our recruitment processes, and maybe point out some things that want to challenge you to look for as you're searching for your next opportunity. We'll talk about everything from how we source and how you too can apply if you see that your value aligns with the values of the company that we're going to talk about. And then I know if time permits, then we'll have some time for some Q&A there. So that is our agenda. And again, Misty and I are super excited to spend some time with you this morning. I see that you are virtually dialing in and joining from a lot of different areas across the country, which is very cool. But I'd be remiss if I didn't introduce myself after I started talking to you all. So my name is Latasha Williams. My official title is Talent Acquisition Partner for Strategic Pipelines. I dare anyone to say that 3 times in a row. Go to the next slide, please. So so that's my title, and I have been with the company for 11 years now. Started off in store management and just kind of progressed through my entire career, honing in a lot more on the recruitment side and the training side. So I've been over recruiting, over training, over both. And now again, for the entire company, over strategic ways in which we attract talent. So I get to be honored to be joined by people like Misty as we move the company forward in on our scope of influence. Starts off at high school, so high school partnerships, collegiate partnerships, diversity and ways we attract talent in different ways, all the way up to executive. So we have the full gambit there. But that's what we're going to be able to talk to you about today. And I will say, aligning to even the purpose of the summit, of the reason why I decided to join the company was because that I saw myself in the company. And when I say see myself, I saw myself in the different versions that I know would occur in my career. So being able to see that I could reassess and redirect and repivot and all those rewords, because as our interests changes, the value that we have stays the same, but you want to be able to explore that in a company. And I've been able to do that in one single company, which is very, very exciting. So I definitely challenge you as you're looking for opportunities that you look for that as well. And if I go back to, like I said, saw myself in all facets. So I saw different diversity and different leaders at different levels, those that knew what they wanted to do when they grew up, and those that were still trying to figure it out. And I love this because that lets me know that there was some movement. So we're going to talk about that today, and super passionate even about our company's efforts on moving diversity, equity, inclusion forward. You're going to hear Misty talk about a ton of those things that we are on the journey to do, and it doesn't stop here. We're still on our way, but the way our company's putting efforts around this has been very, very, very exciting. So that's a little bit about me. So I'll be kind of co-joining this ride here that Misty's going to take you on. So please make sure to drop your questions if you have any. And I see you're dropping LinkedIn and all that good stuff. So let's all stay connected, because together we're going to move companies and industries forward. So don't you forget that. So I'll turn it over to Misty to introduce herself.
All right. Thanks, Latasha. Hi, my name is Misty Cowherd, and I'm the Diversity Recruiting Coordinator. Latasha is my fearless leader, and we are part of the Strategic Pipelines team in talent acquisition for Kroger General Office. So I came to Kroger from a higher education background with over 15 years in either recruiting or communications or even legal compliance. So I'm fortunate to be able to kind of bring that experience into this role. So next slide, please. So Kroger is driven to bring Americans together as an employer, a grocer, and community partner. So we're representing our purpose to feed the human spirit. And so understanding that diversity, equity, and inclusion should be worked into the organization's overall strategy. At the end of 2020, Kroger launched our framework for action, and that was in response to the racial injustices that were happening across the country and in communities that we were serving. So in order to create our framework, Kroger leaders first listened to associates to try to understand those systemic issues that existed within our company and our communities. So over the past year, we've worked to address these issues, and we are proud of our progress that we have made. But we know that there's a lot more to be done. The framework for action, so our diversity, equity, and inclusion plan, features both immediate and longer-term steps developed in collaboration with associates and leaders to accelerate and promote greater change in the workplace and in the communities and organizations served. Next slide, please. So this is a great visual of our plan, which features 5 focus areas, and they are: create a more inclusive culture, develop diverse talent, advance diverse partnerships, advance equitable communities, and deeply listen and report our progress. So this is kind of a snapshot of our progress in the past year, but let's do a deeper dive into these and kind of see how it's demonstrated throughout the enterprise. Next slide. So in order to address a more inclusive culture with Kroger, an advisory council was created, and that was to work closely with senior leaders and associates to ensure that DEI was a part of every conversation and that the work in which teams were doing was meaningful and it moved the company towards a more equitable future. So to approach bias in the workplace for a more inclusive culture, we designed and launched a variety of diversity trainings for our associates. That included inclusive leader, unconscious bias, and inclusion and belonging trainings. So in the past year, about 405,000 associates completed that. And so that's about 90% of our total associates. In addition, we also work closely with our associate resource groups, and that was to create and share our allyship guides. These guides acted as a resource for both our associates and customers to ensure that we were fostering this inclusive environment within our stores and our communities. The next slide is going to be a short video to highlight the value of our ARGs. I think you're on mute, Casey. Can we start that video over again? I think you're on mute, Casey.
Okay, let's try again.
When I came out about 8.5 years ago. It didn't go well. I ended up losing contact with all of my family, most of my church, and a lot of my friends, and I was looking for a place to fit in. And I actually spoke to my manager at the Smith division, and they told me about the ARGs here at GO. And I knew if I didn't have the support that I needed back home in Utah, that I was going to go somewhere that I could find it. And so I put in an application and started interviewing for a role here at the general office, and ended up moving just a couple of months later, just ultimately so that I could join an ARG. And it really gave me an opportunity to not only find folks who were like-minded and in a similar situation, but also to reach out and create new contacts and new relationships. My ARGs, especially the Pride ARG, served as a family to me when I didn't have it. It served as a resource for me as a new employee in a new city. And it not only gave me the strength to feel that I had a place at Kroger, but a confidence to be able to strive to be successful and find not only my own footing, but a path that I'm passionate about and wanting to continue to succeed and excel at Kroger. And I don't think that if I didn't have that ARG experience, I don't think that I'd be where I am today. And I certainly don't think that I'd be with Kroger.
Awesome, thank you. So we have about 12 associate resource groups, or ARGs, within our company that aid in recruitment and retention by creating this inclusive environment where people are able to meet either virtually or in person, and they share similar characteristics, experiences, or goals. It's an avenue within our company that fosters that leadership, enhances our engagement within the company and our communities. So as associates, we're able to network and we're able to socialize, and we're also working on personal and professional development. So these groups can kind of help innovate and raise awareness of relevant issues and all sorts of things. So I'll turn the next slide over to Latasha, this slide right here.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say this one, and that's a good segue. All that she talked about, that's the entire framework, but we knew that had to be infused in all aspects of what we do. Even from a talent acquisition standpoint, for us, that started in schools, and us really focusing on how can we truly be value-added partners, not just corporate partners, but value-added partners at the schools and universities in the communities in which we serve, and to make sure that those partnerships were both fruitful, not just for providing opportunities, but for us being true partners in helping, colleges and students, and really uncover what their next steps would be. So partnering with organizations was really top of mind, but part of this framework for action, as you see here, was improving diverse talent recruitment by partnering with historically Black colleges and universities, Hispanic serving institutions. And actually, as we continue that journey, it expanded. I mean, we were introduced to a whole new world. There's schools that designate as tribal, schools that in the next couple of years that will designate as LGBTQI plus community, and everything in between that you can think of. And all of those schools are located in all of our regional areas, which are spread across the US, including Alaska. So part of that journey was to do things like symposiums and really start inviting students and career professionals and invite them to our house, if you will, have a seat at the table, and learn the recipe here of why we've been able to be in business for a long time, and why you heard stories like you did of leaders that have all different stories and backgrounds, and how that comes together in a really cool mix. So we've expanded our partnerships with diverse colleges, culturally diverse colleges and institutions. We were at like 20 partnerships and have well exceeded over 100, with a third of those being in specifically culturally diverse colleges and institutions. So actually above even the percentage and rate of those schools compared to all schools across the country. So really a lot of work around that. And it also included us being very intentional about being on campus outside of not only career fairs, but partnering with professors and really diving in, and how can we help as a company bring to life what students are learning in the classroom, and how do we help facilitate that true from classroom to career progression starting at colleges. And what we did also to extend that was to make sure that representation of these colleges that I talked to you about that are diverse are also in our internship experiences. And in every other facet. So a lot of work around there. And then also that, like I said, the other points, we then knew that it wasn't just a recruitment piece. It was also a mentorship and advocacy piece and teaching leaders how to be allies and vice versa. So company went on a journey to really wrap their arms around mentorship programs and taking a deeper dive into those and making sure they're truly reflective of moving leaders at all levels, all backgrounds, to higher level roles inside the company or targeted roles inside the company, just to make sure that there was an avenue for that mentorship, which was really exciting because we were able to even expand that. So I mentioned colleges. So even a part of our internship program is to make sure that interns have mentors and that the mentors at our senior level and management level, they have reverse mentorship from our interns as well. So very, very much a two-way mentorship and advocacy program across the board. So from a developing diverse talent, obviously we started to extend past that, and Misty's about to share some more of this, but this was some of the pieces in which we started to expand for sure. So I'll turn it back to Misty.
Thank you, Latasha. Next slide. Just a little bit about advancing diverse partnerships too while we're on this slide. So Kroger has already partnered and already partners and invests in incubations and accelerators through partnerships with leading organizations like our National Minority Supplier Diversity Council and Women's Business Enterprise National Council. So to focus a little bit more on advancing those diverse partnerships, our goal for our supplier inclusion program through our Bringing Diversity to the Table campaign and also our Diversity Advantage program. Those two programs were to increase the spend with diverse suppliers from about $3.4 billion to $10 billion by 2030. So that included partnerships with Black, Indigenous, people of color entrepreneurs, women and veteran-owned brands and services, also businesses owned by the LGBTQ community, as well as business operators with disabilities. So in 2020, we were actually able to increase 21% versus last year. We also introduced 107 new diverse suppliers and now have over 1,600 relationships. So next slide. And so through the Kroger Company Foundation's Racial Equity Fund, we also invested $500,000 in the Next Generation Scholarship Program. And that program is in partnership with LeMoyne-Owen College, which is an HBCU in Memphis, Tennessee, and the Women's Foundation for a Greater Memphis. So that scholarship program promotes access to higher education for local students, and it awards scholarships to graduating seniors of Booker T. Washington High School who are academically motivated and want to attend LeMoyne-Owen College in the fall. Next slide, please. Also last year, we partnered with P&G and Mortar, which is an entrepreneur hub for historically marginalized entrepreneurs in Cincinnati. And that was to support entrepreneurs from historically marginalized communities. So together, Kroger provided the curriculum, also facilitators and funding to expand the organization's nationally acclaimed Entrepreneurship Academy. So this business development program provides entrepreneurs with the opportunity to directly benefit from the engagement with senior leaders at our company and also P&G. The program was also designed to kind of help both existing and aspiring entrepreneurs learn fundamental elements of business ownership, right? So building that comprehensive operating model. And the goal of each participant was to expand or launch their own business that contributes to the local economic development and also established that path to generational sustainability and wealth. Next slide. So another way that Kroger is investing in new and innovative strategies is to strengthen long-term standing partnerships with local institutions, and that's to advance health and social equity. So the Kroger Company Foundation announced a $1.1 million racial equity changemaker grant. This was in Memphis and Cincinnati with the Urban League of Greater Southwestern Ohio, the National Organization of Railroad Freedom Center, and Funwar, which is an organization that helps with the creation and expansion of small Black-owned businesses in Cincinnati. So this grant reflects the Kroger's commitment to mobilizing its people, passion, scale, and resources to transform its culture and communities. Next slide. Also, and with forging those partnerships with innovative organizations, Kroger Company Foundation invited 14 organizations to apply for $1 million in funding through their Build It Together Grant Challenge. And that welcomed organizations to submit proposals that were aimed specifically at uplifting, supporting, and impacting communities of color. There were a panel of judges that included associates, leaders, external partners, as well as local community foundations. And they evaluated the proposals and selected 4 finalists. And they would receive $3 billion to accelerate their visions. Kroger Company Foundation's grant recipients included Black Girl Ventures, whose mission is to provide Black and Brown women founders with access to community, capital, and capacity building. Also, Every Table, whose mission is to transform the food system to make fresh, delicious food accessible to everyone. Also, Local Initiatives Support Corporation, whose aim is to support food system businesses and community organizations working for equitable food access. And it's led by and serving Black, Indigenous, and people of color. And finally, the Thurgood Marshall College Fund. And that organization will adapt its successful innovation and entrepreneurship program to focus on food insecurity and food waste with our Zero Hunger, Zero Waste Innovation Challenge that's coming up. Next slide, please. Finally, for our framework for action, Kroger was proudly named a best place to work for disability inclusion, scoring 100 on the Disability Equality Index. So this was a 10-point increase from the year prior. And that just demonstrated that we truly listen to our associates to improve every day as an organization. The Human Rights Campaign Foundation also named us a best place to work for LGBTQ equality. And this was our 2nd consecutive perfect score on the Corporate Equality Index and their national benchmarking tool for corporate policies and practices supporting lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer employees. I will hand it over to Latasha for the next slide, please.
Thank you for that, Missy. Such some awesome stuff. And we are still on the journey there, like I said, so still moving along and really getting down to how we can further that framework for action in all areas of the business. But specifically, so as you see here on the slide, for our scope of influence, starting off at recruitment and talent attraction. So we are trying to attract the best talents that is, again, truly reflective of the communities in which we serve, in which they are diverse and awesome as they can be. So if you're interested or want to forward this to anyone that's interested, our website, jobs.kroger.com, is where you'll see a lot of our opportunities. And we kind of talk through some of them, but please feel free to reach out to any of us, Misty or myself, for any other information. But you'll see positions on there such as internship programs, which another accolade, which falls under this framework, is our internship was recognized as WayUp's top 100 internship programs in the country, which also included the lens of diversity, equity, inclusion, and how we immerse that into the experience and also how we attract and find talents. So students, as well as the colleges in which we partner with to find those students and provide opportunities. Because the cool thing is that although I know when you think of Kroger, you think of the grocery store, which is the heartbeats of the organization. However, there are some other pieces to that. So, which include part-time roles, whether that's in the store, or full-time opportunities. So whether that's management or corporate or everything in between. I mean, we almost have our lens in every aspect you can think of, from aviation to digital and technology to operations to supply chain. Almost any interest there is an opportunity or a pathway to be able to explore that inside of the Kroger Co. and its banners across the U.S. So over 25,000 jobs are posted there, 70 plus job categories, and like I said, across the U.S. to Alaska and also Puerto Rico. So extensive extensive reach there, if you will. But jobs.kroger is a site that you want to start off with. Join our talent network. So if there's opportunities now or in the future, you will be the first to know. So you go there and you see some screenshots here on the screen here, in which you could join the talent network, upload your resume, and also start to get matched for jobs. So not just you look and search through it, but our systems that we invested in to help make sure that we can match and highlight jobs that match your experiences, your skills, and most importantly, your value and your interests as well. So here is where you will see all of the awesomeness. But as I stated, myself or Misty can definitely guide anyone in the right direction and even maybe think through opportunities that we might not have thought about before. So very, very excited. And I'm seeing in the chat, definitely, thanks, Patricia, for that. Proud to be a part of the Kroger Co. So, we're not just talking about this on the slide. We're trying to really live and breathe this every day in every aspect, from how we attract talent to how we develop talent, how we keep talent, and even in our partnerships, like Misty talked about in partnering and helping entrepreneurs. So, awesomeness here, jobs.kroger.com for sure. You can go to the next slide.
All right. I want to thank you all for the opportunity to kind of engage with you today and for allowing us to share Kroger's progress over the last year with you. And also just wanting to kind of echo what Latasha was saying, like coming into the company, it was amazing to kind of see all the different opportunities that were available. I think when people aren't aware, they focus on the lens of retail, but there are so many different opportunities for diverse candidates who match the skill set and the training. And so like being able to witness kind of all the activities and all the opportunities that were available was amazing. And it's great to be able to kind of work towards that as well on the strategic pipelines team. So just my last thoughts. Also, I want to give you guys my email address. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. My email is misty.cowherd@kroger.com. So if you have any questions about our diversity initiatives or interested as a community organization and partnering, we'll definitely get back to you and continue that conversation to increase diversity, equity, and inclusion in our communities. So thank you. And so we do have a couple of questions. I'm not sure how we want to do it. Let's see.
Yeah, it's awesome too. And thanks for your engagement. We doubled in size there, but as Misty's looking at those questions, definitely, title of this, this section right here was discovering the value of a brand. And I think that's important, what we talked about, making sure that brand matches your value and the impact you want to make. And that's what all of our stuff was, you at Kroger, not the reverse, because we know that our associates and our employees and our partnerships, whether they're in communities or outside of that, is really what the recipe of success is. We just get to do that under the brand there. So very, very excited to be able to share this with you and let you see our journey. Even though, we talked about framework for action, all of those pieces have been in place. We put that together in a framework to keep ourselves accountable and for you to hold us accountable to that as well. So Misty, did you have any questions?
I just see one question in the Q&A box, and it's just resource groups in communities give employees an opportunity to develop social connections, support causes and that are important to them. So having a bigger number of resource groups has helped Kroger employees to become more engaged and form a real sense of belonging within that group. So would you say, Latasha, that having those groups have helped people feel a sense of belonging?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, listen, if you think about the amount of time that you're at work versus you're at home or on personal efforts, you're at work more than you are at home. So organically, those groups have always been in formation. I mean, you'll hear things about Kroger, like in the family environment, even a video that you just saw about sharing stories of finding that home inside of work, which is where you want to see that overlap and that alignment happen. We saw how that happened during this time. So I definitely think having a purposeful amount of groups is probably the best way. You don't want to just have a lot of groups just for the sake of having them. I think what we've been intentional in is making sure we're reflective of our communities, of our employees. So I think purposeful growing is definitely key, and to make sure that our employees can find a home and a space and a community and a tribe and all of those things while we're all navigating how to move the company forward in our respective efforts. So hopefully answer your question. Having a bigger number of resources, I think having the start of resource groups and that are employee led and employee designed, and that funnels from the groups up instead of top down, I think that has been the biggest win for sure. Good question.
Awesome. Are there any other questions?
Yeah, we had another one populate. Have you been able to get your B2B department to integrate your ERG reps in obtaining partnerships? ? Sorry, text there. If so, how does that dramatic work between B2B and frontline workers work? How's the dynamic work between B2B and frontline workers?
Good question. So I'm trying to follow that. I think some of that we mentioned even in, our lens is from a talent acquisition standpoint. So those questions probably fall a lot under our diversity partnership and diversifying even the businesses. So when you talk about from a B2B, supplier diversity is a part of our framework for action. So I know that they have really partnered with our associate resource groups, even as suggestions and getting organizations and businesses in which we should seek out to partner, because they may not know about the opportunities that Misty shared with you that we have. So I know that has been a part of the progress as we move towards supplier diversity, and then it just becomes supplier partnerships, right? You don't have to focus on it because then there's always a mix that's always top of mind. So I know that's some of the ways and probably some other pieces in meeting with the leaders. So all of our employee resource groups, they all have leaders and they meet periodically to talk about focus areas. And a lot of those things are in supplier diversity and how do we highlight organizations or these dollars that you just talked about. Some of that, the emergence of that, like she mentioned, Lamone Owens came from one of the leaders of the employee resource groups, or one of the leaders from the framework for action as we move diversity forward. So I know a lot of that feedback gets funneled to B2B departments, and that's really how they end up working together. And I imagine moving forward, since they meet periodically and stay in touch with each other and share missions and goals, that will even expand more and more.
Excellent. Thank you. We do have a couple more questions, but we're going to turn it over to Tomiko now. She has a presentation on personal branding. Some of these questions I think are going to be answered in that. And at the end, if we have more time, we'll go back to the Q&A. Tomiko, all you.
Excellent. Thank you. So yes, great presentation, Latasha and Misty. And when I found out that Kroger was going to be supporting this, I visited the website. So you definitely are, your website does definitely confirm that you're walking the walk and talking the talk relative to DEI initiatives and the call to action. So thank you very much for sharing that. So as we get started, first, I want to introduce myself. My name is Tomiko Span. I've been with the university for just made 9 years. And in my current role, I lead a team of advisors who support and educate on federal student loans to ensure that they are successful in their repayment. And our motto is no student should ever default. With the university, I was the inaugural lead for ACE, which stands for the African American Council for Excellence Employee Resource Group. And I'm currently support their board. And it's just awesome that we're able to come together to have this summit, because that also speaks to the university's what we're doing to move DEI initiatives forward. And what I'm going to be presenting on is discover the value of a brand, personal employee branding. And as part of this, you're attending this session, you'll also be receiving a personal branding guide. And the guide will provide you, I'll walk through it, but the guide is going to provide you with 5 steps to building your personal brand. and it'll give you all the different things that you need to do to support your personal brand. And then once you have that, you'll be able to participate and interact with employers and ensure that your personal brand and the value of that is aligning with theirs, similar to kind of what Kroger was just sharing. Okay, next slide, please. Thank you. So, everyone has their very own unique brand and value, and we want to assist you with discovering what is your personal brand. Because once you understand your own brand and how it aligns with organizations, you can it will make you become a more thoughtful and effective leader. And then you can see if your brand aligns with companies and organizations that you may want to connect with. So when we start discussing personal brand, like first, what is a personal brand? When I think of brands, I think of companies and organizations, but everyone has their own unique brand. And a brand is how someone experiences you and having a relationship with you. It's who you are and what you represent as an individual and as a leader. And your personal brand supports how others experience you in different elements. So um, it also speaks to like what sets you apart from the crowd. And personal branding describes how individuals differentiate themselves, they stand out from a crowd, and you're able to articulate your unique value proposition. So I ask you, what is your unique promise of value? And again, like what sets you out from the crowd? And at some point in your career, in your life, you're going to need to answer this question because it will assist you with being successful and fulfilled in your work. And if you take control of establishing your personal brand and intentionally shape it, your career, rather than just letting it happen, it will support you and take you further by knowing what you bring to the table. Knowing your personal brand will assist you with taking control of your career versus just letting it happen, and you will become more intentionally. But let's think about this. um, a brand isn't just an image or perception. It provides your interaction and a guideway into the competitive market. And once you establish your personal brand, it will assist you with being very competitive in today's labor market, which is absolutely essential. So, um, whether you're applying for a job, seeking a promotion, making a career change, even starting a business, you're always going to be competing with others. But if you want to stand out from the competition, you would need to understand and communicate the value you offer in a way that resonates with employers you want to work for or the customers you want to attract. So, whatever a personal brand will provide you with ways to support your value and your commitment to DEI. So you set and control the narratives. Don't let others define who you are, as you are uniquely created, and there is no one that can tell your story better than you. Okay, next slide, please. Okay. So let's talk about your discover your brand attributes and ask yourself questions on how you discover your personal brand. So these are just a few things that you can do, and this will be covered in the guide that you're going to receive on developing your personal brand. So, what are the 5 adjectives that you would use to describe yourself? And if you don't know, you may want to ask someone that knows you very well and or a coworker. But just think about what are the 5 adjectives that you would use to describe yourself. Okay. Next, let's think about the moments in your life and or career where you felt like you were just at your best, you were on your game, you were doing this and you was like, yes, no one could tell you nothing because you know that you were walking in your purpose and doing what you were supposed to be doing. And this one, the next one really speaks to me because I'm always like, if I had unlimited time and resources and you know that you couldn't fail, what would you do? Like, what gives you fulfillment? If you were able to do something, and again, if you had the time and the resources, what would you do? And how would you continue to walk in your purpose and your destiny? And then think about the three people that inspire you the most and why. For me personally, I always say that if I could have a conversation with like Harriet Tubman, that would just be awesome because I just have loved her story and what she did and how she persevered and what she stood for. And why do you admire them? And what does, when you think about the three people, what does their brand say about them? Because once again, everyone has a brand and you just have to tap into knowing what it is. And once you've taken the time to kind of reflect on those questions, you'll start to get an idea of what makes you tick, like what is driving you, the personality traits you possess, the moments where you were in life and where your work just shined through, your interests, your passions, things that you daydream about, and like what values are important to you. So that will assist you with developing and discovering your brand. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so let's get started on developing your personal brand. Your personal brand statement identifies and defines the who, what, and desired outcome that you want to convey. So think about who, what, and the desired outcome that you want to convey in your brand. And one way to get started is to establish the central theme of your career story. Is just to come up with maybe like one to three sentences that explain the value that you offer. And this is called your personal brand statement. And below is an example of a brand statement. So it defines I help question who. So this is where you define your target audience, the employer, or the customer you're trying to influence with your message. And then what? What are you doing, understanding, solving? And this is where you describe what you're trying, the problems you solve, and how it's going to be a benefit. And then the desired outcome, it does, and that speaks to the outcomes you are delivering to your target audience and the benefit. So, in developing your personal brand statement, here it talks about the who, the what, and the desired outcome. And this statement here, this is an example of one. It says, I am an inclusive manager with 10 years of experience helping teams become more efficient, innovative, collaborative, while developing diverse leaders at all levels to achieve company goals. And in this example, it's very intentional to use adjectives like inclusive and diverse. And as you build your statement, think about the adjectives and or phrases that demonstrate your commitment to diversity and inclusion. Okay. And next slide, please. Thank you. So once you've built your brand statement, you'll want to make sure that it's relevant, it's visible, and that you're constantly reevaluating it. So as a suggestion, you can use maybe a month. Each month, check up on the people in your network, see how they're doing, try to add value to them, and then glean from them to learn like what value they can add to you. And reflect on what you've accomplished. What goals have you set for yourself? and update your resume twice a year, because there is so much that you do and you want to make sure that you're taking credit for it. And speaking of resumes, I always say keep it updated and keep it relevant, because I always say stay ready so you don't have to get ready. How many times have you had to scramble to update your resume? Like, oh, I want to apply for this job. I need to get my resume updated. I'll be the first one to admit that, yes, that has happened to me. So ensure that you're staying relevant, reviewing your resume, connecting with your network, and then once a year, strive or even more to learn something new. There is so much that we're doing and learning, but are we actually taking the time to reflect and document what we're doing and how it's adding and supporting our brand? Okay. Once again, stay ready so you don't have to get ready, and that also will keep your brand relevant and visible. The next slide, please. Okay. So, in today's discussion, we did just covered a very brief overview of building your brand statement as part of the resources. As I said, you'll be receiving the personal branding guide, and this will be provide you with useful tools and the strategies to building your brand statement. I covered it at a very high level, but the guide is a great guide that will give you additional information. And as a University of Phoenix student and alumni, we have career resources for life. Yes, we support our students and our alumni for life. And as part of what we offer, Phoenix Link is available through your My Phoenix student portal, and it provides career resources on so many topics. You can search for jobs, career planning, advising, and if you are a University of Phoenix student and alumni, as I stated, this is we support you through your a whole entire career and life, and it's free. So we encourage everyone to log into your My Phoenix student portal to explore all of these resources through Phoenix Link. And um, as we kind of conclude this before we get into Q&A, tomorrow there's going to be a career fair where you can actually, if you've crafted your brand statement, you can share your personal brand with the employers that will be represented there. And it's tomorrow from 8 to 2:30 Phoenix time, Mountain time. And you'll be able to connect with employers like Kroger and see what their value stands and check out their websites and interact with them. And personally, for me, I always like to ensure that the companies and organizations that I'm connecting with, it's not transactional, but it's actually, they're actually doing the work and living their value, as Kroger shared with their call to action. That's it. And last but not least, the career fair, it's free to attend. So please be sure and do that.
Excellent. Thank you, Tamiko. Yes, and those guides that she's talking about are just below the conversation you're having, or the screen that you're seeing. Just below that, you should see them added there. We do have a couple questions for you, Tamiko, before you go. I'm pursuing two different career tracks: it just moved on me. Healthcare management and real estate. How do I blend them? How do I manage two different brands?
So when you say how do you like manage them because they're so different?
I assume yes.
Okay. So I would say how you would manage those if you're doing two different career paths is make sure that you can try to find the consistencies or the uniqueness of your different careers. So with healthcare, it's totally different from real estate, but I would say maybe when you're doing real estate or in healthcare, you may be able to share that. So you just have to find those like niches where you can kind of blend the two because they are so totally different. Now, I'm not saying when you're dealing with someone in healthcare, oh, hey, do you want to buy a house or anything like that? But when it kind of comes naturally and organic to kind of infuse those together, then that would work. And for me, I'm really huge on networking. And it's just with sharing what you do, like naturally, and when it just comes, then that may be able to find a way where you can kind of merge and blend those together.
Excellent. How do you recommend that people focus on their personal brand?
Your personal brand, it has to come natural, right? So I would say focusing on first, as when you go through the guide, just find your passion, because you have to turn your passion into your personal brand and what you want to do, and it should represent you. And like when you think of some companies, as soon as you see their logo, you hear their um, like jingle or tone that they use, you know exactly what that means. And you want to ensure that your personal brand is truly representative of you. If you like certain things, then you should be able to kind of turn that into your personal brand statement. And it should identify you naturally.
And this one's for Kroger. So, Misty, if you want to take this one, what was the driving force for Kroger to pursue and lead this less beaten path, so to speak?
I would say probably the driving force was, like I mentioned before, in 2020, with all the world occurrences and social justice issues, I think a part of Kroger's values and promise is to kind of deeply listen to its associates as well as the communities in which they serve. So I think that was a part of, really trying to dig deep and come up with a strategy and a plan for action. Because we do know that, you can do little things here and there, but if there's no real strategy and forward movement, it makes things difficult, especially at an enterprise level.
Perfect. Back to you, Shamiko. I realize we have an example for each of these statements, but how specific do they need to be in prep for an interview? How specific?
Well, it should be very specific for the interview that you're applying for, or because it needs to tailor to that. For instance, I have a few resumes and you adjust them based on what the job is requiring. And that's not saying just tailor it for that, but it needs to focus on what you're trying to do. If it's a DEI position, where you just don't want to talk about things that are not there, you want to search to identify how what I represent and the value that I bring, how does that tie into DEI?
Perfect. And in kind of along that, how do you incorporate it on your personal brand on your resume? Do you just put a section heading? How do you do that?
Yes. So specifically on mine, I have it at the top as an introductory statement, like this is who I am, this is what I'm focused on, and this is what I bring. So it's kind of like a summation of your attributes, your qualities, and the value that you bring.
Okay. And back to Kroger. How can one encourage their company to listen to the employees in a positive way?
I'll let Latasha answer also, but from my vantage point, if you have a company that values its associates or employees and has channels for communication, so whether that be different feeds or groups like ARGs or ERGs, using those opportunities to kind of connect and network and be able to kind of, share that story, share those perspectives. I think that's super important. So if you work for a company and you're able to kind of get in those groups or find those communication channels, be able to tell your story, your perspective, hopefully your company will listen. If not, that's definitely something to evaluate, right?
Definitely. Natasha, any more to add? Okay. How difficult is it to, Tamiko, let's go back to you. How difficult is it to rebrand after retirement? After having a successful career in one area, I want to shift my focus. However, my community knows me from the prior work that I have and pushes me to keep it in that area.
Okay. I can definitely speak to that. Prior to coming here, I was with American Express for 20 years. So it was all American Express. Now, here in the realm of education, you just have to, when building it, your personal brand and getting others to see that, constantly reinforce, this is what I'm doing. This is the now. This is things that I've done. So with switching from retirement or other jobs, you want to try to bring out and highlight where you currently are at.
And we have a couple different questions in there, all kind of the same, asking the same questions. Do you have any tips for personal branding for professors or for teachers? We have a lot of those in our audience. Is there a specific area they can look for those types of things?
Well, what I would say for a professor, and I was also, when I was faculty with the University of Phoenix, it's what are you wanting to convey? How are you want to your students or your audience, how do you want to assist them with getting to the next level? How are you facilitating and teaching your courses? So I would think about the audience and what you want to do to ensure that your students are successful, and then tie that into your personal brand.
Perfect. And this is for Kroger. How many employees do you have? How does your training look like for regular employees?
Yeah, I can jump in there. So how many employees do we have total in the entire company? So spread across different banners across the US. I think we're a little over 500,000 employees when you think about from all different levels, from stores all the way up into corporates. And then what was the second part of that?
And then about the training that they go through.
Got it. So training is definitely going to vary based on the type of role and the level. There is some commonality. We do have a recipe for success. Talk about it.
Oh, looks like we might have lost her.
Okay.
All right, let's just jump on to the next one. If she comes back, then we'll go back to her. If your brand, I guess we kind of already answered this one a little bit. If you brand yourself in a later than life and need to change your branding, how do you do this? We kind of did that one already. What are some of the best skills to develop when upgrading skills each year?
Was that for me? You want me to into that?
Yeah.
Okay. So it depends on what your focus is, what you want to focus on. I would target that with, if you're focusing on D&I, then I would take some courses and webinars and attend things that focus on D&I, and then that's what you can add to your resume, and also update your personal brand based on that. You're an inclusive leader that's supporting blah, 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 and tie it into, use those adjectives to highlight how the course that you've taken, how it's now you're going to apply that. So kind of take the course, marry it to your personal brand, and update it. I hope that answers the question.
Perfect. Excellent. And ladies, we're about at time. Is there any other last words that you guys have to share with the group?
I know. I just want to plug the free career fair tomorrow and work on your personal brand. And I mean, it does take time because it's always hard to talk about yourself, right, and make you shine. But if you don't shine the light on yourself, no one else will. And no one can tell your story better than you. So work on your personal brand and develop it. And then check out the companies that you want to interact with and see exactly, are they, as I stated with Kroger, walking the walk and talking the talk.
Perfect. Kroger, anything you'd like to have as last statement?
I just want to thank you for allowing us to kind of share with you our progress over the years. So we enjoyed being able to kind of outline things and hopefully, if you're interested, you want to see more, as Latasha shared, our website, go ahead and take a look. And thank you again.
Yeah, I'll echo that and just say thank you for your time. I love all of this conversation. You know, the core is even if you're highlighting yourself, like you are the power. So don't forget that. And I would definitely talk about your brand, your power, your purpose, your impact, and how does that align to what a company is trying to achieve or what they're trying to do moving forward. But just don't forget that power piece is you and your story and what you bring and all of that, because companies move forward based on the people, and you are the people. So I definitely say all this stuff that was talked about, think about that as you fine tune and harness your brand, whether it's, a reinvention, redirection, or whatever that may be. There's still power in everything that you've done. But thank you for inviting us today. Really appreciate it.
Excellent. Thank you, ladies, for joining us. Now, if we all join over to the main stage, we're going to start with our next presentation there. Thanks for joining, guys.
Thank you.